Hi folks, Ben Creighton here. Some of you may already know that I've been working on a fully illustrated children's picture book about Eloy, who is the asinine centaur that I played for a couple of years on the Natural Wonders D&D campaign. It's about grief and loss and dealing with grief and loss in a secular way. It's an idea that I've had rattling around in my head ever since my family, we lost my younger brother at the age of 27. And my little nephew asked me, shortly after the funeral, asked me, Ben, Uncle Kenny's in heaven, right? So why is everybody so sad? And I, being an atheist, wasn't sure how to answer that question. And this book is my answer to that question. This is not the final book right here. This is a prototype. It's got a bunch of rough sketches from a very talented artist named Carolyn Arcabasio, which I'm probably mispronouncing. And every time I talk to her, I forget to ask her, hey, can I make sure I'm pronouncing your name right? But she's fantastic. There's a link to some of her portfolio in the video description down below. And on a live stream today, by request, I did a little live reading of this. This prototype is a pre-order bonus. It's also got in the margins, it's got some notes that Carolyn and I have sent back and forth to each other. It's kind of like the behind-the-scenes director's commentary version. So I'm going to cut over to that live reading that I just did for my streaming audience. For those of you who aren't particularly interested in watching me play Link to the Past on Twitch, I thought this might be something you are interested in. Those pre-orders are going to be open until November 15th of 2019, so a little over 2 weeks now. And then I'm going to close them down. I want to make sure that I'm able to get all those pre-order bonuses sent out in time for Christmas, little stocking stuffer for those who want them. There will be another crowdfunding campaign once the art is finalized. We'll have a more elaborate crowdfunding campaign, but enough people had asked me, I've been talking up this book project. It's something that's near and dear to my heart, something that I care a lot about, and enough people had asked me, where do I go to support the book? That I figured I should probably have a good answer for them. So I'm gonna click back in time about half an hour to when I started this this thing. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye. Skirtspur asks, can we get a full reading with commentary at some point? Yeah, we could do something like that. Yeah, you wanna do that right now? We can do that right now. Let me switch over to some reading music. Here we go. All right. So we got, this sketch actually looks good. Like, that is the sketch that got Carolyn hired. I talked to a bunch of artists, just had Discord, but voice chat interviews with them, just talking about the project, and I commissioned a half dozen rough black and white sketches as like a proof of concept. Paid for all of them because I am a firm believer that artists should be paid for their work. But just as like give me an idea of what you would do with this material. And that's what Carolyn came back with. And yeah, she was already the front runner just based on our talking about the story. She seemed like she really connected with it. And like really got what I was going for. So also her art is fantastic. Let me find you that link here. Drop this link in the chat right now. But yeah, her art is amazing. So already in my mind, I'm like she was the front runner, and then she came back with that sketch. So yeah, first page is just the original manuscript that I sent to Carolyn, just the original, here's the text. And then it goes from that into the book. Eloy lived with his father, mother, and sister Paige high up on Old Lady Big Rock Mountain. You get the, here, let me see if I can, and here, yeah, if I zoom out a little bit more, that'll probably make it easier. There we go. Just get, yeah, there we go. Can kind of see there. A little margin note here says, this is one of my comments to Carolyn. I told her, this is an establishing shot with a lot going on. I decided to drop the bit about them living in a herd of centaurs, which was more important in previous iterations of the story. Doing that also dropped the word centaur, which was a stumbling block for my nephew. And I decided to drop the two-legged descriptor of Haffy later, too. I like the idea that this difference between Eloy's family and Haffy is never called attention to or commented on. It just is. This is a world where people are different from each other, and it's not a big deal. Next page. Eloy loved to listen to the birds sing. He tried to sing too, but what came out was a donkey bray. You can see if it all... Yeah, there it is, right there. Try and get that. See him going, ee-haw, little birds flying away. Carolyn says, with the square format, I found that 2 spot illustrations worked better than 3 here. She'd originally pitched it as 3 spot illustrations. Also, you mentioned the idea about the birds in the squawk flute scene later, not here, but I think it works pretty well. What do you think? Yeah, I wound up agreeing with her, obviously, because that's the version that made it in here. Next page. One day, a strange man named Haffy came to Old Lady Big Rock Mountain. See if I can... There we go. You can kind of see him approaching the family there. And I say to Carolyn, I'm imagining Haffy and Eloy's mother and father facing each other as if meeting for the first time. Haffy should be coming uphill, coming up the mountain to where Eloy's family live. Next page. Haffy had a magic wand called a flute that made a sound like birdsong. We've got our little sketch of Haffy playing the flute here, and across from him on the next page, Eloy looking all like, whoa, what's that? Eloy asked to borrow the flute. That's where we get our big squawk! And then the next page from that, Haffy laughed. It takes hard work and practice, he said. I'll teach you. And then, next page. Every day, Eloy practiced with Haffy's flute. A big double-page spread. I love what she did here. She, notice how it's almost like separated into panels like a comic book. You see Eloy traveling along, playing the flute. That's his sister right there, like, oh, wow, look what you can do. And, you know, Haffy over here teaching him, moving off into the distance. And instead of, like, you know, comic book panels, she separates the action with the tree there. I thought that was such a cool touch. My comment to Carolyn, I like this as our first big double-page spread. It gives a sense of a passage of time and tells the audience that a new status quo has been established about a third of the way into the story. I think this spread should focus on Eloy and Haffy. If the other 3 characters are present at all, they should be smaller, at a distance. This image is about Eloy bonding with Haffy over new experiences from outside his usual world. And Carolyn says to me, Paige is here so that we can see that she is awed by the flute, preceding the magic line, which comes later. Also, as you can tell, I screwed up. I must have subconsciously been anticipating a page turn between he practiced and he got better every day, because that's what I did. I can easily combine them, but I left it like this for your consideration in case you like it. Woozy Tiger is asking, how do I buy this book? I've got a pre-order page up. It's right here on gum.co/EloyEB. That's how you can pre-order it. When you pre-order, you will get one of these prototype booklets. I just had a bunch of them printed out. You can buy one of those. You will receive one of those. That's a pre-order bonus. You will also get the final book when it comes out. But the illustrations are not finished. We're still in the process. So folks who are willing to back the project this early, this is, a little bonus to thank you for your faith in the project. It's a project that's very important to me. Anyway, yeah, obviously I liked Carolyn's screw up, if you want to call it that, because we kept it in. Then the next page, every day he got better and better. And that had been originally planned as just, facing on the 2-page spread. Every day he practiced, every day he got better and better. Woozy Tiger, the final book will be hardcover. I may eventually do a paperback version if the hardback version sells well, but because of economies of scale, that original printing, I had to choose. It would have driven the price up for everybody to have 2 versions. So I said, well, if logistically I can only have one version, I want a hardcover version. I want the people who are buying this early, I want them to have the nice version. If there's a second printing, I might consider doing a softback version for people who want a cheaper version, but if B-Scar, yes, there will definitely be a Kindle version, just because that is super easy to do. So there's no reason not to. There will definitely be a Kindle version down the line. Next page. One day, as Eloy was playing the flute, a rockslide came and buried Paige and Haffy. Eloy and his mother and father worked hard and dug them out. And you can see, oh yeah, these black and white pages show up a lot, or mostly black pages show up a lot better, but there's the rockslide coming down, and then digging them out, working on this art to make sure, you never actually see them, in one page it's just rocks, in the next page it's them being dug out. It's a fine line to walk. All right. Next page. Paige's leg was twisted. Haffy's head was hurt. Eloy's mother wrapped bandages around them and asked Old Lady Big Rock Mountain to heal them. All that night, Eloy sat and played his flute softly over Paige and Haffy as they slept. There's that page. I like how she did it, too, where this is a 2-page spread, but everybody is huddled together really closely on the one page, and then the other is dedicated mostly to text. My comment to Carolyn. I had always thought of this sequence of events, and this is how I'd laid it out in the outline that I sent to her. I had always thought of this as a sequence of events. Eloy's mother wrapped bandages and asked Old Lady Big Rock Mountain for help, and then Eloy sat and played the flute over them. I like it way better, the way you've laid it out, as a double-page spread with everything happening at the same time. It shows the whole family pulling together to help in whatever way they know how. I like that. I'd like to find Eloy's father something to do in this spread, too. but I don't like the idea of giving him the bandages, because that makes Eloy's mother, the stand-in for religious folks, too passive if all she's doing is praying. Well, the answers she finds don't ultimately work for Eloy, or me. I want to be careful to always treat her with kindness and never make her into a caricature. Something to think about as we revise. Carolyn replies, in this scene, Eloy, mother, and father are attending to the injuries in their shelter. The father is feeding the fire, while mother wraps bandages, and Eloy plays the flute. So yeah, that was great. Exactly what I asked for. Like, can we find the father something productive to do in this scene? Yeah, Carolyn's been amazing when it comes to... She's way better at visual storytelling than I am. I'm a text guy. So, yeah, lots of stuff like that where I'll ask her, can we find this is what I'm trying to get across. Can we find a way to work this in? She's always been great about that. All right, next page. The next morning, Paige's leg felt better. She said, your magic music healed me, Eloy. But Haffy's head was still hurt, and he would not wake up. And there's... Yeah, right on this page you can see their little cabin kind of from far away. My note to Carolyn. I'm not sure if I like Paige's line here. It's kind of an artifact from previous versions where Eloy's music was explicitly magical. Here, the idea is just kind of dropped on the reader and never picked up again. This is kind of the only point in the story where Paige actually has something to do or say, though, and I do like the idea of two characters being caught in the Rockslide, and one living and one dying. And that's, flipping back a little, that's where Carolyn had the idea of including Paige on this earlier image, being like awed by Eloy's magical music to kind of set up that line a little better and give it a little more grounding in the story so it doesn't just come out of nowhere. Next page. Eloy's father said that Haffy had died in the night. Eloy's mother said Old Lady Big Rock Mountain has taken Haffy to live with her. He will be happier now. And actually, that's a line that's gonna change in the next revision. Since printing out these books, because this is these little prototype booklets, you know, we're always revising. Carolyn came back to me and said, you know, I think we should. It's a subtle change in dialogue, but based on what you said about not wanting to make Eloy's mother a caricature, I think it would be better if we soften her statement to, I believe Old Lady Big Rock Mountain has taken Haffy to live with her. So it's not a statement of fact, it's a statement of belief. Just softens it a little. And I like that idea, so we're doing that. Oh, speaking of revision, yeah, Adorkable Lee has a suggestion, which is to change your magic music healed me to just your music helped me. And I'm gonna mull that one over. Yeah, I'm gonna sleep on that one, but thank you, good suggestion. Alright, so Carolyns Message here. Okay, so in trying to figure out the next couple spreads, I found that this arrangement feels the most natural for a few reasons. The zoomed-out view on the left acts as an establishing shot, implying that something significant has changed, which we realize is both Paige's recovery and Haffy's death. It's a huge emotional blow, so I'm thinking the zoomed-out view can help present the idea to the reader gently at first, giving them time to process a bit before the next page. In the text document, Eloy's father said is after the page turn and it precedes Eloy leaving his sleeping mother and sister to meet his father. But there were a few things that visually I couldn't resolve smoothly. The shift from day to night felt too rapid, and the shift in setting for Eloy's father felt abrupt. I'm offering this pacing as a solution, and I think it works, but I look forward to your thoughts. And then the right page, which is on this next page here, is a spot illustration of Haffy in silhouette. Oh, no. It is this, this right page here, is a spot illustration of Haffy in silhouette. I'm picturing the light and shadow obscuring most detail. And yeah, that's, Haffy in silhouette here. That's something that we struggled with, as we were revising. And I don't have, like, a record of all the conversations that happened because it was mostly over voice chat. But, yeah, one of our goals for this segment here is to strike a balance between not pulling punches for the kids so much, because it is meant to be a weighty, impactful scene. But we also don't want to quite go to the level of, hey, kids, here's a corpse. So that's something that we're going to be paying very close attention to as we revise, is how much detail to show on this page to make it impactful but not traumatic. Next page. That night, Eloy could not sleep. He walked away from where his mother and Paige slept and found his father waiting for him. We got another double page spread here. Eloy coming up from the cabin finds that, Daddy couldn't sleep either. And Carolyn's note, the change in the previous spread makes this one a double page, but it seems to me that it works. I feel it foreshadows the momentous realizations ahead. Obviously, I think it works too. All right. Next page. Eloy asked, how can old Lady Big Rock Mountain have taken Haffy to live with her? He's still here, he's just not moving around no more. Eloy's father sighed. I don't think old Lady Big Rock Mountain took Haffy to live with her. His arms and legs and head are still here, but the part that made him Haffy is gone. Here's our double page spread here. Both of them just looking up at the moon and trying to... You know what? I never noticed this before. Hold on. Carolyn might have done something clever that I didn't notice. Yeah, you notice this? On this page, it's a full moon. On this page, the moon is waning, which doesn't make sense astronomically, but I like it for symbolism purposes. That's... Oh. I'm gonna have to... Ooh. She's so good! All right. Next page. But where did he go? Eloy asked. Eloy's father said, I remember the world before you were born, Eloy. Where were you then? Eloy didn't remember. And here we have just the night sky, constellations. And this is another tricky one that we're going to be paying really close attention to as we revise. But Carolyn's idea with this page is that the stars, the constellation of the stars, will form broadly, vaguely, the outline of Haffy's silhouette. And we want to be really careful with this to make it suggest it without being so strong that it suggests an afterlife, which is not something that I want to portray. I don't want to appeal to the supernatural in this story. It is meant to be a secular, an atheist story of coming to terms with grief. So, but yeah, Carolyn is a fantastic artist. She is more than capable of subtlety, and so I'm super confident that we'll be able to dial it in to where we want it. The idea is not that Haffy has literally ascended into the sky, and more, we're viewing this from Eloy's perspective, which is why we do not see him. It is just the night sky. We are seeing what he sees, and Eloy is seeing Haffy in the world around him. Eloy's father said, "One day there was nothing, and the next day there was you." That's what happened to Haffy, but the other way around. One moment there was Haffy. The next moment there was nothing. Except for one thing. When Haffy was alive, he told us stories of his home. He taught you to play the flute. Those things did not go away because Haffy is gone. That's what's left of Haffy in the world now, Eloy. Not the arms and legs and head and heart that aren't him anymore. You. We see them again. It is a double-page spread, but one is just text, and the other is them coming closer together. And we are coming closer visually. Carolyn is so freaking good at this, you guys. This is all her. All of this, like, framing stuff. So the way I had originally laid this out, all of this text was split across many different pages, and Carolyn was the one who said, no, this all needs to be, I know you're trying to avoid having big blocks of text, but this needs to be all here. This is all one idea. And yeah, it's going to be challenging for kids, but let's give our audience some credit. This is how it's going to work the best visually. So, yeah. The next day, Eloy packed a sack full of food. He hugged his mother and sister goodbye and promised to visit, and set off to travel the world. And here's our little spot illustration of hugging his family hugging his family goodbye. And my note to Carolyn, I'm imagining page 26 as a spot illustration, making his goodbyes to his family a little more focused and intimate, and 27 as a full-page illustration showing off a new setting as Eloy travels the world. And here's page 27. Might be a different page now after so many changes we've made, I don't know. But it says, everywhere he went, he would play on Haffy's flute. And my note to Carolyn, on 27, Eloy would be the only character shown. He has to spend some time alone before he can start to connect with new people. Old Lady Big Rock Mountain would be visible in the background, the only time we've seen the entire mountain from a distance instead of being right on it. Eloy would be small in the frame, dwarfed by the new world he's exploring. And then, next page. Whenever he met someone new, Eloy would tell them stories of his friend Haffy and of his family, who still lived on Old Lady Big Rock Mountain. And sometimes, when he met a little boy or girl who wanted to learn, he would teach them to play the flute too. We've got our double-page spread here. And my note to Carolyn, then 28 to 29, finish on a full-page spread showing the new status quo as Eloy finds his calling and begins to reconnect with others again. I dropped the two-legged descriptor from the boy or girl in the text, but I think they should still be humans in the art. These are the audience surrogates. Whew. Okay, so yeah, that's the book as it, I was about to say as it stands now, really as it stands as of a couple weeks ago, because I had to submit this to, I had to submit this, to the printer before I went off to London, and we've made some changes since then. It is a living thing. So yep, that's where the book is at. Like I say, as of a couple of weeks ago, it is, at the time that we're doing this, October 28th. Yeah, those pre-orders are going to stay open for another about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks, and then I'm going to close them down so that I can make sure to have these pre-order bonuses mailed out in time for Christmas. Woozy Tiger asks, so if this book is a success, will we see a Billy Punchy Face book? I have a text-only manuscript for a sequel. I'm not worrying about, it's basically in the same state now that this story was about 6 months ago, which is a very rough, just text, prose. It's about 3 pages long. Text-wise, it's about twice as long as it should be. It needs a lot of of condensing and streamlining before it's ready to move on to the next phase. And right now, Carolyn is focused on getting getting this ready. So there are ideas for the future. There are ideas for the future. All right, guys. Thank you so much. So yeah, those pre-orders are going to be open for another 2 weeks or so, and then we're going to shut them down, so it's like a limited time thing. But there will be a larger crowdfunding campaign early next year when the art is finalized and we can show people like exactly what they'll be buying. There'll be like deluxe editions with extras for folks who want them. But right now, this is what I have right now, and enough people had asked me, hey, where can I go to support that? That I figured I should give them a way to support it, and also not for nothing to defray some of the costs of paying Carolyn, because, as I said, big believer in making sure artists always get paid, and printing costs, graphic design. I paid a graphic designer to, little stuff that you don't think about, but it's not free to, format this stuff and get everything looking right, and and making sure the pagination is correct, and that the nothing is nothing's free. And so far I've been paying for all of those costs out of pocket, which I'm happy to do. But yeah, it's everybody who's pre-ordered the book has been helping me pay for those costs. And I very much appreciate it. So this little prototype book is just kind of my little thank you bonus for everybody who's willing to do that this early. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time.